Alright everyone, welcome to a political strategy video, which is exactly what's happening with regards to Kirsten Gillibrand and George Soros. I have said now for a couple of years, if there was a true short list of people I expected to be in the front of the pack in 2020, if they choose to run for the Democratic nomination, Kirsten Gillibrand would be number 1 or 2. She'd be very, very high up. This is what's happening. She supposedly is at odds right now with George Soros and some of the DNC's big donors over Al Franken. That is, Kirsten Gillibrand threw him under the bus. You know, after supporting that New York Attorney General who was beating his girlfriends, Gillibrand is just, she's a great champion of women regardless, you know, for no apparent reason, because she's female basically and has a D after her name. And so she went after Frank and she's like, well, he must resign. You know, you've got a picture of him groping a reporter. You've got other tales of him in improprietous situations. He's got to go. He's got to, you know, it's damaging to the Democrats and it's just wrong. She framed it as a moral situation. It was really about cutting, you know, a cancer out of the Democratic Party. It was the right decision, by the way, to kick Franken out. So Soros has come out and said, well, you know, Al Franken would still, we wouldn't be in this mess if it weren't for you meddlesome newcomer Democrats. You should have stood by your man, basically. I have a 99% chance on the table for all of you that Soros and Gillibrand coordinated about this beforehand, and this is a rebranding strategy. It smells of rebranding. Kirsten Gillibrand's done this multiple times. She's trying to rebrand herself. She's doing exactly what I suggested she should do if she wants to be a contender. She is trying to rebrand herself as the missing link between the neoliberals, they get the big corporate money, they get corporate donations, they've got, you know, the entrenched power structure. And the younger, more hip Democrats who are progressive. They don't really like George Soros. They don't really like the DNC's corporate ties. They didn't like what happened to Bernie Sanders. She's trying to maneuver herself into a position to bridge the gap because she knows all the other candidates are likely to fall on one side or the other. You'll have the progressive maverick, they'll have all the youth vote. Ultimately, they'll never cobble together enough to be the nominee. You'll have the neoliberal who otherwise would be the nominee who will then have to be competed with the Gillibrand. And her strategy, I think, is that in what will probably be a crowded field, she's hoping to simply be high enough up there to outlast a lot of the neoliberal competitors, focus her fire on them. If she runs, I expect she'll fire on the neoliberals first. She'll criticize them as establishmentarians. She'll say, you're part of the establishment, you're corrupt, you take corporate money, you don't represent workers, or you're old and outdated. Gillibrand's only in her early 50s. She's a young face within the Democratic Party. She is therefore infinitely more well set up. She can play to the donors and take money while attacking others for doing the same thing. Expect this. This would be her operative strategy if she's smart. The first wave in a crowded field, you get probably half a dozen candidates at least. It won't be like last time where it was basically Hillary Clinton, a socialist, and then 3 other people who threw their hats in to get a little name recognition. That one dude, I think, just wanted to sell books. And Jim Webb's like, yeah, you know, I'm 70. Who fucking cares? I'm just going to run as the blue dog and, you know, have 3% of the vote for a week. I'll show up at the debate, make a couple jokes, and then leave. It'll be funny. You know, I did a movie once. Haha, it's funny. I was in Vietnam. Yeah, I took a grenade to the knee. Yeah. Her operative strategy. First wave. Crowded field. Nobody's really rising much into the, you know, even the double digits. You know, you'll have a couple standout candidates. She'll focus her fire on the neoliberals and cast herself as a maverick, while at the same time sort of trying to ignore or even mock and discredit the maybe further left candidates. Because she knows the further left is still the underdog. The Democratic Party is still primarily comprised of neoliberals. You have to be able to play nice with them. You can't alienate the full donor base. You can't alienate the entrenched power structure. So therefore, she has a difficult thing that she has to do. She has to try to, behind the scenes, wine and dine a few of the donors, while primarily running a grassroots regime in which she simply appears to be the most sane, pragmatic progressive. This will slowly grind down the progressives, and she'll probably knock off one of the neolibs at the same time. Now the field will be less crowded. There'll be 3 or 4 people. She'll stand out because she'll probably be the only one who straddles the line. But in order to do this, she has to do a lot of work before the campaign begins. She has to pretend that she doesn't like Soros, that she's an advocate for women because she went after Franken and the DNC donors tried to bite her ass and she outmaneuvered them. She has to play up to that progressive Me Too side of the Democratic Party. She's not going to use, if she's smart, by the way, And I think she is, because every marker, every element of rebranding is already there. This is what I think, there's a 99% chance this is what she's doing. I predict that she'll run in 2020. Whether she becomes the nominee or not, I predict she'll run. She's young enough, she can run 3 or 4 times, easy. She'd still be, even a person in their mid-60s will be younger than Trump. So she's got no problem. Trump will be, maybe pushing 75 at the time. It would be a little bit conspicuous. Someone 20 years younger, she can be pretty for the cameras, basically. This is what it boils down to. Optics matter within political campaigns. You might not like it. You look back at the Nixon era. He had the same problem. He looked like all disheveled and shit. As opposed to JFK. Very young, vibrant, looked pretty for the camera, didn't need makeup. He's like, I was 40-something. What do you say? Yeah, I fuck Marilyn Monroe every other day. It's great. Keeps me young. I drink her blood a little bit. No. Gillibrand in the first wave will cast herself as a maverick, but a pragmatic maverick. That way she'll outlast some of the second-tier candidates. Once the race is solidified into 3 or 4 people, it's easy going from there. If she can last that long, of course, anything can happen within a race. I guarantee, though, the powers that be of the DNC want her to run. They're grooming her to run. They're letting her maneuver into a position, and they're telling her, go after the donors. They're not actually going to alienate them. You're going to be a corporate candidate, but you're going to pretend not to be. It'll be exactly like Obama. She's pulling an Obama strategy. She's trying to be the standout Democrat in a field that'll be dominated by bigger names. It'll be dominated. Joe Biden will probably get in. If the DNC is smart in having Gillibrand there, they'll let Biden run. She'll use him as whack-a-mole, and she'll say, you're in your mid-70s, you're a corporate establishmentarian, you're sort of a union Democrat, I have better ideas. At the same time, unlike Hillary Clinton, she's going to try not to alienate male voters by not making her gender a big deal in the race. She'll only very, very mildly point it out. She'll say, hey, I want your vote, but some of you are like, hey, we need a woman in the White House. I just want to be in the White House because I think I'm qualified. That'd be a really great campaign strategy. It could work. She's one of the few people who would actually stand a chance against Donald Trump. To tell the truth, I wouldn't vote for her because I can see through her shtick. It's all strategy. It's all repositioning and rebranding. Which means I know she's a corporate puppet, because she wouldn't be rebranding or she's like, yeah, I am an actual progressive. I'm going to pretend to play nice with the DNC. No. Progressives are too ideological for that. Don't fucking start that with me. I see right through it. By the way, I could tear her a new asshole verbally during the election by pointing this out over and over. It'd be funny. The alt media is in a position now where there are enough of us, we have enough of a fan base to pull something like that off. We can stop a candidate who tries to rebrand by simply pointing out their past. This sort of happened even to Mitt Romney, when you really think about it. No, Gillibrand is not an authentic progressive. She's not a maverick. She's not an outsider. She's a corporate Dem. But she's younger, she's prettier for the cameras, and she's willing to temper herself that way. She's not an ideologue. She's not. She's not like that. She's just an opportunist. She's willing to do the Clinton thing, oddly enough, which is, hey, I'm a shapeshifter. I can be what the people want me to be to get 51% of the vote in any given district. That means she's the sort of candidate, when she's in Cole County, she's going to be saying something different than when she shows up at a college campus in San Francisco. She's just going to be that kind of person, which is, again, the opposite of Trump. His message is relatively the same. The focus may change, but the overall message is surprisingly consistent. MAGA, because it's made of empty statements. He's a politician now, too. It's basically make America great again. We're going to have a wall. Yeah, the job market is going well. The economy is going well. By the way, North Korea might give up nuclear weapons. That's basically going to be his main platform, I think. By the way, those major victories give him a very good chance, even if Gillibrand is the nominee. Despite the fact that she's better at strategy, she'd certainly run a way better campaign than Hillary Clinton. And if you think that Joe Biden is actually going to be the nominee, everyone right now is playing up Joe Biden. But keep in mind, who's playing him up? Corporate liberal media. It's just a magic trick. It's Shakespearean. That when the magician is operating, the hand that's moving around and drawing your attention is not the hand you're supposed to be watching. You're supposed to be watching his fucking foot or his mouth or his ear or something, or maybe the other hand behind his back. That's what you have to fixate on. They are trying to get you to fixate on Joe Biden, in part because they're trying to shield Gillibrand and people like her that they're grooming to run from any repercussions for anything that they do or say that's a gaffe. Because no one's fixated on it. No one will care. By the time the election comes, nobody's going to care about the issue. That's the way that you do it. Fixate on Joe Biden. They know he won't be the nominee. They know he won't be the president. He's too old. He's too compromised. Turnout among Republicans would skyrocket because of his association with Obama. He would be Obama without any of Obama's strengths. Not as well spoken, not nearly as young, and by all means, hate to say it, but within the Democratic Party, he's not black. Absolutely, that would be why. He would lose. Trump would crush him. It'd be like Nixon's re-election, where Massachusetts and D.C. were the only states that voted against Richard Nixon. It'd be a landslide election. They know this. They're not that dumb. They're not dumb enough to run Joe Biden. They're also not dumb enough to allow Bernie Sanders or Hillary Clinton to get that slot. They can't maybe stop them from running, but they can sure as hell, we've seen already, they can certainly stop them from being the nominee. None of those three will be nominated by the Democratic Party. That's a guarantee. They're too old. Yeah, there's a good chance at least one of them will have kicked off before 2020. What are people talking about? They consistently put three very, very old, homogenized corporate liberals in the same position. Bernie, by the way, at this point, is basically a corporate liberal. He has totally bent knee. Even a lot of his fans don't like this fact. I don't think he'd have as much support if he did run. A lot of his core fans wouldn't get excited for him again. You can't use the same shtick twice. Hillary Clinton learned this the hard way. She tried twice. She failed. She's not even going to run again, I don't think. If she did, it'll be hilarious. I hope she does because it'll inject chaos into the race. But again, if she does, it'll probably be because she got paid by the DNC. Run and be Gillibrand's whack-a-mole. And then we'll owe you a favor. When your Chelsea Clinton can run for the Senate, we'll back her. Trust us, she'll get in. You know, no contender will stand up against her. We'll make sure she at least gets the position within the party to run. That's the sort of way the Clintons work. No, Gillibrand is definitely setting herself up for a 2020 campaign. I would be very surprised if she doesn't run. The only thing at this point that can preclude that, I think, would be another similar candidate, again, someone younger, someone who is a minority, but only one kind of minority. That is, they are non-straight or non-white or non-male, essentially, but not all three things because, you know, the Democrats are scared. They don't want to be that progressive, that tolerant and vibrant and diverse. Not yet, anyway. No, non-Christian, you know, they're Jewish, they're an atheist or something. I don't think that'll happen. I don't think that we're likely to ever get a truly atheistic president, at least not one that's open. I think half of our presidents have already been atheists, to tell the truth. No, Gillibrand is in a good position to run. She's one of the few people who would actually have a fighting chance. I mean that unironically. I think Trump would have a massive advantage, but there's a chance she could win. Because she's not as compromised, she's not old, for one thing that helps. She's not compromised, and she's willing to rebrand herself. But that's what this is, and don't fucking tell me that she's pissed off for real at George Soros. Don't tell me for a second that George Soros, you know, after 100 years or so of political strategy, in which he's, you know, literally seen other people get, like, killed and stuff, don't tell me that George Soros suddenly is so dumb at political strategy that he would think this was a good idea. No, I don't think so at all. She's not a true maverick. She's just branding herself as one. That's about all. Peace out.